12 of the most dangerous aircraft ever built just landed in Israel. This afternoon, a squadron of United States Air Force F-22 Raptors touched down at Ovda Airbase in the Negev desert. They flew from Royal Air Force Lakenheath in England, refueled in midair by a fleet of KC-46 and KC-135 tankers, and arrived in southern Israel as part of the largest American military deployment to the Middle East in decades. Welcome to the Sand Table. This is briefing number 6. Let me explain why this matters more than any other military move we have covered so far. The F-22 Raptor is not just another fighter jet. It is the single most advanced air superiority platform the United States has ever built. Unlike the F-35, which has been sold to allies including Israel, the F-22 has never been exported to any country. Congress passed a law specifically banning its sale. The aircraft's full capabilities remain classified. What we know is that its combination of stealth, speed, sensors, and maneuverability makes it virtually invisible to radar. The F-22's primary mission is to penetrate deep into enemy territory, destroy air defense systems and radar installations, and clear the way for everything that follows. It is the aircraft you send in first, before the bombers, before the strike packages, before anything else crosses the border. 12 of these aircraft are now sitting on Israeli soil. Open-source flight trackers identified 11 aircraft completing the journey, with one returning to the UK due to a fuel issue. The jets belong to the elite 1st Fighter Wing out of Langley Air Force Base in Virginia. They staged at Lakenheath for several days while waiting for aerial refueling aircraft, then made the transit today. This is believed to be the first time F-22 Raptors have deployed to an Israeli airbase in a combat posture. They have participated in joint exercises before, but positioning them at Ovda, a base in the far south of Israel near Eilat with hardened shelters and long runways, sends a very specific signal. It tells Iran that the United States is not just projecting power from aircraft carriers in the Gulf. It is positioning its most classified strike asset on the doorstep of the theater. The F-22 can fly undetected, engage targets at long range before the enemy even knows it is there, and operate at supersonic speeds without afterburners. And the Raptors are just the tip. Open-source analysts from the Military Air Tracking Alliance have been tracking dozens of additional aircraft heading into the region over the past 10 days. F-35s, F-15s, F-16s, aerial refueling tankers, E-3 Sentry airborne command aircraft, C-17 and C-5 strategic transports, and Navy P-8 Poseidon maritime patrol aircraft. Hundreds of cargo flights have been logged since mid-February. 2 carrier strike groups are now operational in the region. Over 100 combat aircraft are deployed, and now the crown jewel of American air power is parked in the Negev desert. If diplomacy fails on Thursday in Geneva, the infrastructure for a full-scale air campaign is not just in place, it is ready to go tonight. Now let me tell you what happened in Washington today, because the timing of these events is not a coincidence. At 3 o'clock this afternoon, Secretary of State Marco Rubio and CIA Director John Ratcliffe walked into the White House to deliver a classified briefing to the Gang of Eight. That is the most senior group of congressional leaders who receive intelligence on matters of national security. It includes Senate Majority Leader John Thune, Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, House Speaker Mike Johnson, House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, and the chairs and ranking members of the intelligence committees from both chambers: Tom Cotton, Mark Warner, Rick Crawford, and Jim Himes. This is the briefing that historically takes place before major military action. The Obama administration briefed the Gang of Eight before the raid that killed Osama bin Laden. The significance of this meeting cannot be overstated. The White House scheduled it for 3 p.m. The State of the Union begins at 9 p.m. tonight. That gives congressional leaders 6 hours to absorb classified intelligence on Iran's nuclear posture, U.S. assessments of the diplomatic situation, and the military options on the table, before the president stands in front of the nation and speaks. The administration is doing something very deliberate here. By briefing the Gang of Eight before the speech, the White House is ensuring that the most powerful members of Congress have the same intelligence the president is working from. That means when Trump steps to the podium tonight and lays out his position on Iran, the people in that chamber who matter most already know the classified context behind every word he says. Last week, Schumer stated that Congress alone has the power to declare war, and said the administration had not yet articulated its objectives or strategy for a potential military campaign. The decision to brief him today, alongside leaders from both parties, is the White House answering that concern directly. It is also a signal that whatever Trump says tonight is backed by a process that includes congressional consultation. Now here's the second major move from Washington today. The CIA posted a video in Farsi directly addressing the people of Iran. The message was simple. In Persian it said, "The Central Intelligence Agency hears your voice and wants to help you." The video then provided detailed instructions on how Iranians can securely contact the agency. It told them to use a burner device, use a VPN or Tor to encrypt the connection, browse in incognito mode, clear their history after making contact. It provided links to both the CIA's public website and its presence on the dark web. The Farsi language post racked up millions of views within hours. CIA Director Ratcliffe has said that similar recruitment campaigns in Mandarin targeting Chinese citizens have already produced results. This is the same playbook, now aimed at Iran. But the timing is what makes this extraordinary. The CIA did not release this video last week or last month. They released it today. The same day the F-22s landed in Israel. The same day the Gang of Eight got their classified briefing. The same day the President delivers the State of the Union. Hours before the biggest speech of the year. This is a coordinated information operation. The military sends a physical message with the Raptors. The intelligence community sends a digital message in Farsi. The State Department sends a political message through the Congressional briefing. And tonight, the President delivers the strategic message to the world. Every piece is landing at the same time. That is not a coincidence. That is a campaign. Now let me take you inside Iran because both sides are escalating at the same time. For the fourth consecutive day, Iranian students took to university campuses across the country. But today, the situation turned violent. Reports and verified videos show direct physical clashes between anti-government students and pro-regime Basij forces on multiple campuses. The government spokesperson acknowledged publicly that students have wounds in their hearts. But she immediately added that there are red lines, specifically citing the national flag and what she called sacred symbols, after videos emerged showing students tearing up and burning the current flag of the Islamic Republic and hoisting the pre-revolution lion and sun flag. That flag is the symbol of the Pahlavi monarchy. Raising it on campus is a direct challenge to the legitimacy of the Islamic Republic itself. Protests spread across major universities in Tehran, as well as Shiraz and Isfahan. Students chanted, "Death to the dictator" and "freedom." At the same time, Human Rights Watch released a new report today calling the January crackdown a massacre and documenting what it described as a tsunami of arbitrary arrests and enforced disappearances. And then something happened that connects the CIA's Farsi video directly to the unrest inside Iran. A cyber attack hit Iranian telecommunications infrastructure today. Approximately 50,000 Iranian citizens received a text message on their phones that read, "To the oppressed people of Iran, the U.S. President is a man of action. You will soon see." Iran's cyber police confirmed they are investigating. Whether this was a CIA operation, an allied intelligence service, or an independent actor, the effect is the same. It tells ordinary Iranians that someone outside their borders is watching, listening, and preparing to act. Now here is Iran's countermessage. While students protested on campuses, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps launched a second day of ground force military drills along the southern coast near the Strait of Hormuz. Brigadier General Mohammad Karami, commander of IRGC ground forces, told state television that the drills were a direct response to threats in the region. He said they are testing missiles, artillery, drones, special forces, armored vehicles, and personnel carriers. This follows last week's naval exercises where Iran tested its new Sayyad 3G naval air defense missile, firing it from a warship for the first time. That missile has a range of 150 kilometers and is designed to shoot down fighter jets, cruise missiles, and drones. Iran is sending a dual message. To Washington, we are not defenseless. To its own population, the military is strong and loyal. But here is the reality. The IRGC is drilling on the coast while students are burning the regime's flag on campus. The government is warning about red lines while 50,000 citizens just received a text message telling them the American president is about to act. The regime is projecting strength outward while bleeding legitimacy inward. That is the definition of a government under pressure from both directions at once. Now let me show you something most people are not talking about, because there is a NATO dimension to this crisis that has been quietly developing. Bloomberg reported today that NATO has shifted its air surveillance operations in Turkey from monitoring Russia to monitoring Iran. The alliance operates advanced AWACS radar aircraft from the central Anatolian city of Konya, and the frequency of flights watching Iran has increased significantly. Think about what that means. NATO, which has spent the last 4 years focused almost entirely on Russia and Ukraine, is now redirecting surveillance assets toward Iran. This is not a unilateral American decision. This is the alliance adjusting its posture because the threat assessment has changed. Turkey's role here is critical and complicated. Turkey is a NATO member that hosts Incirlik Airbase, one of the most important American military facilities in the region. Last month, Turkish intelligence dismantled an Iranian spy ring that was conducting surveillance on Incirlik. 6 people were arrested. The cell had been photographing and filming the base under the direction of Iranian intelligence officers. So Turkey is cooperating with NATO on intelligence and surveillance, while simultaneously calling for diplomatic restraint. Turkish President Erdogan has warned against military strikes on Iran. Foreign Minister Fidan has argued that Tehran is still open to negotiation. Turkey is threading the needle, participating in the military preparation while publicly pushing for a diplomatic solution. That is what a country does when it borders the crisis zone and has interests on every side. Meanwhile, in Jerusalem, Prime Minister Netanyahu spoke at a leadership conference of the Shin Bet, Israel's domestic intelligence agency. He told them that Israel is building a new regional alliance to counter both the Iranian and Muslim Brotherhood axes. He said the alliance includes many countries, and that some are visiting Israel even now, while Israel is visiting others. Netanyahu described this as an entire circle encompassing the Middle East, echoing Israel's historical strategy from the 1950s and 60s of building alliances with non-Arab states on the perimeter. On the diplomatic front, Iran's Deputy Foreign Minister Majid Takhtravanchi told NPR today that Iran is ready to do whatever necessary to reach a deal with the United States. He said they will enter the Geneva negotiations on Thursday with sincerity and goodwill. He added that if there is political will on all sides, a deal can be reached as soon as possible. That is the most conciliatory language we have heard from a senior Iranian official since this crisis began. It could be genuine. It could be designed to buy time. But it is on the record, and it will be tested in Geneva on Thursday. Now let me put all of this together, because everything that happened today points to tonight. At 9 p.m. Eastern, President Trump will stand before a joint session of Congress and deliver the State of the Union address. His press secretary, Caroline Leavitt, previewed the speech this morning. She said, "President Trump's first option is always diplomacy. But as he has shown, he is willing to use the lethal force of the United States military if necessary." She also confirmed that the president will talk about Operation Midnight Hammer, last summer's strikes on Iranian nuclear sites, and that he will address the threats that remain abroad. 2 White House sources told Reuters that Trump plans to discuss his plans for Iran specifically during tonight's speech. That is not speculation. That is from inside the building. So here is the full picture of what happened today, February 24th, 2026. At dawn, 12 F-22 Raptor stealth fighters took off from England and flew to Israel. The most advanced combat aircraft in the world are now sitting in the Negev desert, ready to do what they were built to do. At midday, the CIA released a Farsi language video telling the Iranian people that America's intelligence agency hears them and wants to help. Millions of Iranians saw it within hours. At 3 p.m., the Secretary of State and the CIA director walked into the White House and delivered a classified briefing on Iran to the most senior members of Congress. The briefing that happens before military action. At the same time, Iranian students clashed with regime forces on university campuses for the 4th straight day. 50,000 Iranians received a mysterious text message telling them the American president is about to act. The IRGC launched another round of military drills on the southern coast. NATO redirected its surveillance aircraft from watching Russia to watching Iran. Netanyahu told his intelligence chiefs that Israel is building a new alliance for what comes next. And tonight the president speaks. If you want to understand what Trump says about Iran in the State of the Union, you now have the context that almost no one else watching will have. You know about the F-22s. You know about the Gang of Eight briefing. You know about the CIA's message. You know about the protests, the drills, the surveillance, and the alliance. Watch the speech tonight. Listen to every word on Iran. I will be watching too. And tomorrow, Briefing 7 will break down exactly what the president said, what it means, and what happens next. If you are new here, Briefings 1 through 5 are in the description. They are the foundation for everything you are about to see unfold. Subscribe, hit the bell, Share this with someone who needs to understand what is happening before the president speaks tonight. I will see you at the next briefing.